What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk to you about a new release film that is one of my most anticipated films for the rest of the year to watch. And the reason for that is this film is made by the Addams family, who, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I did an interview with the Addams family about their previous film, Hellbender. And we talked a little bit about another one of their films, The Deeper You Dig. And they are just awesome people and they make really awesome films. And I was so glad to be able to talk to them. And I've really been hooked on their work since I watched Hellbender. And I think what's so impressive about the Addams as filmmakers is they're really just, they have this mentality of, if we want to make a movie, we're going to make a movie. And there are a lot of people out there who can say that and that they go and do that, that it doesn't necessarily work. But what impresses me so much about the Addams is there's always these really interesting ideas at the core, that they have these narratives that are easy to follow, but there's always so much more under the surface in each one of their movies. And there's also an amazing attention to detail in the cinematography and the production design. They get the most out of their practical effects that they can with the budgets that they're working with. And that's what's so impressive to me, is for the budgets that they're working with and how they're getting these movies made, they always look really great and they always leave a lasting impact. And so because of that, I was really looking forward to checking out their newest film. And the movie I'm going to be talking about with you today is Where the Devil Roams. Where the Devil Roams is directed by Toby Poser, John Adams, and Zelda Adams. It follows a family of murderous sideshow performers as it travels around the world on a dying carnival circuit. So I was really excited to watch this movie, and I'm happy to say I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I think what impressed me so much about this movie is the Addams took a lot of risks with this film. I feel like they've really established a style and a tone in each one of their movies, and this movie gets very subversive, very surreal. There's a lot of strange sequences that are really abstract. The narrative isn't necessarily linear, which I found really interesting, and it was just a really great experience, and I'm excited to tell you about it today. So the plot description that I gave at the beginning, our three lead characters are played by John Adams, Toby Poser, and Zelda Adams. They're this family unit who travels in this carnival sideshow, and they have this stage show where Zelda Adams' character Eve does not speak the entire movie. The only time we hear dialogue from her at all is when she sings these songs in her performances. And their show doesn't get a whole lot of traction, but they really enjoy performing. They have this communal relationship with a lot of people that work in the sideshow. And there is one gentleman in particular who seems to be the main act at the carnival. And he gives these really intense monologues. And through giving these monologue sequences, he also chops his fingers off while he's doing that. And people are just completely enamored by his performance. And one day, Eve, Zelda Adams' character, goes into this gentleman's tent and has a conversation with him, and we find out that there is something sinister going on with his performance, that he may have made a deal with the devil in order to be able to do these things. And the entire film is following this familial unit traveling with this carnival sideshow and kind of seeing how their family works, getting new information about these characters, and ultimately seeing if they can keep their family unit together as they travel in this dying carnival circuit. So as I said, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. As I said, this is the Addams really taking a risk. There's a lot of things in this movie that are very different than the films that they've made before, which is something I really appreciate. They really take a surreal route with a lot of the imagery, which they dabbled into in Hellbender. There's a lot of really cool visual sequences that are very abstract, but this movie takes it even further, and there are moments that are just so strange, and because of the camera work, they do such a fantastic job drawing you in as a viewer, and you're not able to break your attention with the crazy things that you're seeing on screen. The first thing I want to discuss with this film is the cinematography. It is fantastic as always. I am always impressed with the Addams and their cinematography and how much they get out of the camera work in their films. There are so many shots in this movie that are seared into my brain because of the intentionality of the placement of the camera camera or a horrific image that you're seeing. There's these really awesome sequences that they do throughout the film where it's almost like characters are in just like a black, empty, void space, and they have the lighting on other characters to where it just feels very dreamlike. It just immerses you in this space, and you get so much more out of your actors by isolating them in this empty void to where their facial expression and their bodily movements have to come through in order to make it emotionally resonate. And I think they do a fantastic job through the camera work in this film at holding your attention and really creating an eerie and unsettling atmosphere that made the film really enjoyable to watch. The performances throughout the movie are also really great. I think Zelda Adams, who plays Eve in this, does a phenomenal job with virtually no dialogue. She has been in all the Adams films that I have watched, and I'm always really impressed with her performance. And I think in this movie, what impressed me with her performance so much is because she has no dialogue, she has to do a lot with her facial expressions and her bodily movements, and that comes through really well. I also think John and Toby both give amazing performances in this. They really have to be at the forefront in every scene. They really have to command the space, and I think they develop these characters and give them both a personality. You just want to learn more about each one of them. They're so strange, and both of their backgrounds, as we get information about each one of them, are really interesting to where even when the film was over, I just wanted to know more about both of their characters. And what I think is really interesting about this film and about the Addams as a whole is obviously they're a family and they're making films together, and all of their films have some kind of message about family and family dynamics. And I think this movie had a message at its central core that resonated with me a lot. I grew up in a family that was really together for a very long time, and then my parents went through a very intense divorce, and it really rocked my family, it rocked my siblings, and it was a very difficult experience. And seeing a normalized family unit kind of shatter and destroy itself is something I lived through firsthand, and it was very difficult and it was very hard. And so whenever I watch movies about family units, especially ones that have so much symbolism laden throughout, I'm always trying to unpack each individual piece. And I may be wrong in this, but one of the things that I found so interesting about this movie is almost all the scenes of murder in this film are the three characters will go into a space, and John's character will get a blindfold tied around his eyes as Toby's character murders people right in front of them, and Zelda's character just kind of sits at a table or she takes a photograph and watches the family kind of do its thing. And what I think is so interesting about that is I feel like that's so representative of family units when things kind of go south, or like a relationship between parents isn't necessarily all there. To me, John's character being blindfolded through those sequences spoke volumes about how he knows what's going on, but he wants to keep a blind eye to it. He'd rather not know what's going on. And I think so many families have that, right? Where a person in the family knows something's not right and something is off, and they want to hide from it and they want to act like they don't know what's going on. But at the end of the day, you're just turning a blind eye to an issue that is occurring right in front of you. And his character has this trauma affiliated with a war and the horrors that he's seen during the war. And I thought that was so interesting. And then Toby's character, who is incredibly violent, she has such this internalized rage that she's willing to go in and essentially get whatever she wants whenever she needs it. And the two characters do really love each other, but they're so different as human beings. And I thought that was so interesting that her character was so overtly violent and able to commit these acts, but at the same time we learn about her troubled past, and it makes a lot of sense as to why she is so willing to commit violence for her own family. And I thought that the way that both of those characters were developed was fantastic. And then Zelda's character being the kid who's watching the two parents in this familial dynamic commit these things, she just kind of sits and watches. And I think that's really true to what a lot of kids deal with when their parents fight, or when they go through a divorce, or when they're watching their family struggle. They just can kind of take that photograph and sit back and watch it, because there's only so much you can do to intervene. And I thought that the way that that family dynamic was explored was really fascinating. And then there's a twist towards the end, and I don't want to get into too much detail about the kid essentially taking over and having to be the parent and having to control what the parents are doing. And I thought there was so much in that as to parents falling ill or getting a sickness to where they can't operate on their own anymore, and the child really does have to take the reins, and the kid doesn't always necessarily know how to make the best decisions for the parent, but they're trying their best with the knowledge that they have acquired over time to take care of the family. And I just thought that there was so much brilliance in the way that the familial dynamics were written in this movie. And I think there's a lot more, even that I didn't talk about just now, that you can unpack in watching this movie. It also has a ton of great horror elements. The violence in this never pulls back. I think for the limited budget, what they are able to accomplish visually is exceptional. As per usual, the music in this film is phenomenal. The family makes the music, and their music is awesome. I love it in all of the films that they've made. The soundtrack to this movie is just going to be playing in my head for quite some time. And if you have not seen Where the Devil Roams yet, it is coming to Tubi very soon. You can rent it online. It is 100% worth checking out. It's a fantastic movie. Please go support the Adams. They are incredible filmmakers who are really working hard to make some really excellent content. So have you seen Where the Devil Roams? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was great. I really enjoyed myself. I thought that it was really well made, and I'm always looking forward to whatever the Adams are going to make next. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.